Are we live? Looks like we're live. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon to the majority of y'all. But welcome to this week's, the first show of the week. We're going to be talking about, kind of a heavy topic. It's been quite the weekend. A lot of you all are already familiar with what happened this past weekend in Buffalo, but we're going to talk about it. And we're going to talk about it from more so of a mental health and trauma perspective. So I encourage you all to do your best to see if you all can see it from this perspective. Very. I'm sure we have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts. Some of which I'll keep to myself. But there's a lot that's in my mind as it relates to this. But let's go ahead and get started. But my name is Kojo Sarfo. I'm checking in live from sunny Los Angeles, California. Let's go ahead and drop your location in the chat, and then we will get into the topic. Leilani, how are you doing? Tyler, what's going on? Kelly, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Let me say, Brianna, how are you doing? Checking in from Georgia. What's going on? Love from Georgia. How are you doing? Georgia again. Love from Ohio. We got people from Tampa, Chicago. Got Shay in Buffalo. Shay, I hope y'all are doing okay out there. Houston, Texas in the house. Charlotte, North Carolina. Let me see. Niagara Falls. Okay, so we have some people in Canada. We heard. Oh yeah, I'm definitely doing a lot of praying. It's been quite the weekend. Detroit, Michigan. So sad right now. More people from Buffalo. Wow. I've always had a lot of people from New York and Buffalo in general. See New York. Okay. Wow. Yeah. And I don't even have all the words, And let's go ahead and Detroit, Charleston, Georgia. All right, let's go ahead and get into the topic. So, I mean, for those people who are not familiar, looks like we had somebody who drove, quite a distance to get to Buffalo, and then shot 10 people. Let me start off by reading the names of the people who were deceased. To show our respects to the victims. The first one, Aaron Salter, 55 years old, retired Buffalo police officer. Ruth Whitfield, 86 years old, was on her way from visiting her husband in a nursing home. Wow. Pearlie Young, 77, passed away. She was shopping for groceries. Katherine Massey, 72 years old. Deacon Hayward Patterson, 67 years old. Celestine Cheney, 65 years old. Roberta A. Drury, 32 years old. Marcus D. Morrison, 52 years old. Andre McNeil, 53 years old. Geraldine Talley, 62 years old. And injured Zaire Goodman, 20. Wow. So what a weekend. When these things happen, and yeah, I'm definitely praying for, the victims and this everybody involved. This is my same reaction when I read about it. It's difficult because we've also become so accustomed to these things happening. I remember when I first I think it was 1999, was that Columbine? I remember when that happened, it was like a big deal. And now, these mass shootings were happening and people are like, oh, it's just another mass shooting, and we've collectively become so accustomed to the trauma. And, I'm not sure if that's a good thing, but there's a new normal that we have to get acclimated to when it comes to, our mental health and, protecting our peace. And, as it relates to gun control and everything with politics, we're just going to put that aside because I'm not an expert in politics. And this is not the channel for that. Here we have people from all walks of life. So we're going to keep, our views out of it. But when it comes to these traumatic things, there's a couple of things I want y'all to know. When they happen, first and foremost, it's okay to shut off the news, right? So if you're somebody who, you're triggered by this news, right? Like you had somebody walk into a predominantly African-American setting and open fire, so depending on, how you take that news, like I didn't take it good at all. Obviously, you may want to, not spend so much time in front of the TV, or looking up at the news like right when it happens. Like, we have to process these things differently. And sometimes friends will text you like, "Did you hear about so and so?" It's okay to not reply if you don't have it in you. And that's something that I've had to learn myself uh, recently, especially when it comes to mental health. Like, when something big happens in the news as it relates to mental health, like, people will DM me and say, "Hey, like, Dr. Kojo, what are your thoughts on so and so?" And sometimes I'm like, hey, well, I won't reply, but in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, like, "Hey, I'm still trying to process information myself, so that's why it's taking me a while to come out with a statement or to say something." So I think that's the first thing that I want people to know. Like, it's okay to not have, like, sometimes things happen that are so shocking that, you know, there's nothing to say. Like, you don't have a response. Like, you're still trying to, like, take in what happened. And that first step, like, I want people to know that it's okay to, like, not have an immediate response. So that's something that I'm still learning. Like, I'm right there with you all, on that journey. So I do want to make that clear. Let me look through the comments, and then I'll continue talking about what is on my mind. You have to take it. Yeah, me, I agree. So, this May right now, we talk about mental health awareness and, being an advocate. But if you don't take care of yourself first and foremost, you can't do anything for um, other people. It's about being human. It is. We have to be able to see signs in our kids and help them. Right. So I agree. Like, we should be able to help out our kids. When you talk about people who have, you know, like like, I've worked. I did inpatient psychiatry, for the majority of my career, right? And I started off in forensic psychiatry when I first graduated. Um, so, like, I'm familiar with people who have, homicidal ideation, people who have done things of this nature. So yeah, like, we definitely want to help our kids if we see that they're not doing well. But at the same time, too, you can help somebody out, and things can still happen. So that's the difficult thing about it. Like, things aren't perfect. And if we could do anything to, like make sure that these things wouldn't happen, like, we would do that ASAP. And Beth says, "I'm so sorry, I had a mass shooting in Dayton, Ohio." Yeah, I remember not too long ago they had one in Ohio. Yeah, it's man, it's tough. It's tough. I try to keep my Facebook stats positive for my friends. And Renee, that's good. Like, it's good to be a positive person. Like, I'm a positive person. I, spend the majority of my day, like, laughing and smiling and being upbeat. I have, like, sad moments as well. But sometimes like, it's difficult to be positive, and it's okay to not have that positive, like, you know thing within you, right? Because depending on the news that you get, like, you might not be, like, smiling that whole day, right? So sometimes, if you need time, Renee, to, like, just be Renee for a second, and then look after your Facebook friends, that's also good. um and yeah, Leia, it's I've been keeping up with the news. I've seen that the Buffalo Bills have released a statement. I think the quarterback Josh Allen said something, and people are rallying around. So and also, like, there's people who live in the area. After these things happen, there's a certain level of anxiety that you live with after something traumatic happens, right? And there's different. We talk about mental health. There's different forms of, like, anxiety and depression, right? You can have, like, generalized anxiety, or panic disorder or something. But then you can also not have anxiety at all, and then something like this can happen, and you can be on edge for weeks to months, and even longer than that. You know, and no, I'm in Los Angeles. I'm not in Buffalo at all. Um, but I'm still thinking about the people out there, and like, I'm reading through the comments right now, and people are saying something about other things happening, and I'm not sure about the other things that are happening. Like, if something's happening right now, I'm not aware of it, so I don't want to speak on that. I want to stick to the thing that happened this past weekend, and talk about things that we can do moving forward. when it comes to protecting our mental health, because we can't control everything. Like I said, if there's a way to like put these, like if there was a price tag, like if the US could pay $20 billion and put an end to mass shootings, I think we would all do that, right? So because we can't control that, we have to, well, we can't control that with politics and different stuff. But in terms of what we can control ourselves, right, and protecting our peace, that's the thing that I want you all to, to focus on, right? Because we all have our opinions about, how we feel about these things. But when it comes to what we can do personally for ourselves, that's like the first step. That's what we should be worried about initially. Let me see. For those who, all right. So I see you all are update people in the comment section. Yeah, Sean says, I'm from Buffalo, within a few miles of Jefferson, and could barely walk around the stores. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that like you wake up and then like you see the news, and I'm like, like you're done with the day. Like throw the whole day away when these things happen. It's pretty difficult. It says, speak out, help your Black friends and family offer. Let me sell it. Leia, yeah, it's good that you put this comment out there. A lot of people are hurting, so sometimes just reaching out and, just letting people know that you're thinking of them, that can go a long way. When things like these happen, sometimes, whenever race gets involved, is difficult because people are like with race relations in this country, like it's always like you're walking on eggshells. But I think if you have it like within your heart to like lend out a hand and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about you," that could go a long way. Like I know it means a lot to me, So, it's stressful. I'm in the Buffalo area, and it's stressing me. I'm a cousin. Just miss being there. Wow. Yeah, Lisa, that's the thing. This is real life. Like sometimes I think people see these things and they're like, "Oh, that's happening like in Buffalo, right?" And I live in LA, but like, I mean, is LA any safer? Like these things happen all the time. So I think it's just a part of the human experience. Unfortunately, so we have to do our best to keep each other safe and, look out for one another. Let me see what Leilani is saying. Your post as well made me aware of this tragedy. I started watching the news years ago while I was in the military because it was too overwhelming. And I still don't, because I don't want to make the impression upon the kids while they're young and cause them to have anxiety over being in the outside world. The biggest thing that spoke to me as a parent is it's not our job to make our children concerned about adult issues or feelings. They don't have the mental capacity to handle and process it. Leilani, I respect it, and the ironic thing is that we're getting to a time and place where you can make the argument that it may be time to talk to your kids about these things, which sucks. Like that really sucks. Like kids should just have to worry about, Fortnite and PlayStation and, playing games on their phone. Like, like I would hate for kids to have to worry about this type of stuff, but sometimes when you talk about safety and, just basic safety tips in general, like you have to let kids know that there's evil people in the world, people who don't, for whatever reason, that they don't have other people's best interests in mind. So it's a very difficult conversation. So whichever way you choose to approach it, like I respect it. And even with the news, a lot of people don't know that you can, I'm not saying that the news will give you PTSD. I don't want y'all to take my words out of context, but with the news, sometimes like if you watch the news regularly, fine. Like watch it, educate yourself, be up to date on what's going on. But watching the news like ad nauseum, like 24/7, could also, might cause more harm, as opposed to being helpful. Kevin, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy the happier shows. I'm not gonna lie to you, but it's still important to talk about, trauma, about grief, about, these things when they happen, because that, when they happen, it blindsides all of us. And then we're just kind of like stuck looking at the TV, trying to figure out what to do. Let me see. Yeah, I've asked you. Okay, I'm not gonna reply to that. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Much love to the people out there in Buffalo. Roland, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And my thing is, this is why, like, I like talking about all these different things, right? Because who knows why somebody's watching me? On my end, like that's what I'm thinking. Somebody, of course, the majority of people here are, probably here to get tips about ADHD and depression and anxiety, which are probably the things I post about the most, right? But like grief, I don't talk about grief enough on my channel. I have some videos coming out this week where we're talking about grief, and I had those videos planned even before all this happened. But you never know why somebody's watching your channel, right? Like I think about that a lot. Some people are watching just for entertainment. They don't really care about mental health. They just want to watch the videos and laugh. And that's great. I appreciate them as well. Some people want to learn about ADHD, boom, 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 whatever the case is. Some people schizophrenia, so you never know why somebody's watching your channel. So that's why I like having these different lives. Not every live is going to be like a happy, like clapping live, especially when we're talking about these topics. But you never know, like maybe somebody was affected personally and they're watching this live and it means something to them. So that's why I like, like I'm making an intentional effort to be as expansive as possible. Alive on survivor guilt. Oh, that's a Mickey Ficky. I'm write that down. I need to have my my survivor's guilt. I like that a lot. Because I think that when we talk about the notion of survivor's guilt, it's pretty close to like, sometimes we conflate it with PTSD. I don't want to say it's PTSD, but sometimes you see some common themes. That's really good. Dominique, I'm definitely praying for you all out there in New York. Let me see. We do have safety conversations. But yeah, Leilani, yeah, what I was saying earlier was I was just saying that it's ironic how like we want to keep kids safe, but then we may have to have these like basic safety conversations. I definitely respect that. Let me see. Tara, I appreciate you. Oh, Mickey Figgy. I just say Mickey Figgy like this all the time. Let me see. I want to. I want to channel ADHD. February. You help me more than people. Well, Vic, I'm happy that I'm able to help, but keep in mind, like when these, traumatic things happen, because my thing is like, here's the thing with social media. Like social media it's so big and expansive that it's tough to really get a hold of what's going on. So sometimes I'm not sure how people view me, like where people look into me as, right? So I'm happy that I'm able to help. And I do believe that because there's a shortage of mental health providers out there. And, sometimes it's hard finding somebody in your area to help you with grief and counseling and whatever you're going through. So I do believe that my content can be helpful. And if you say it's more helpful than the people in Kentucky locally, then I do appreciate that. But on the back end, I just always want to add that, like my platform is not a substitute for like professional, like medical or mental health services, right? Or if I was like seeing patients at the moment, like that Kojo is different than this Kojo, right? It's still the same person, but then like once I'm in like professional mode, like I'm locked into one person, and like for an hour, like I'm locked into that person, right? So with your mental health, you deserve that same, attention and respect, where you find a provider who is locked into you and they're focused on like getting the diagnosis correct and like the right meds or like wherever the treatment is. So I think my content is helpful, but I always like to say that it's not a substitute for like actual professional services. Just gotta say that. Let me see. Amy says, Amy, it's your first live. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Yeah, like it took me what all of school 7-8 years to like learn everything. So if I can find a way to explain things in like less than 15 seconds, I'm happy that I'm able to do that. Let me see what Robin said. I live close to Buffalo. And I grew up 30 minutes away. I was in Buffalo the day it happened. It feels surreal that something like this happened so close to home. It breaks my heart and definitely has my anxiety increased. Robin, so right, that's what I want to get at. So I'm sorry that y'all are going through that, and there's so much happening when something like this happens, right? You have to deal with the trauma and the pain of it, right? Because it's a painful situation, So anytime we turn the news, we're going to be reminded of it, and we're still trying to process it. It just happened like this past weekend, and on top of that, the anxiety afterwards, like when something traumatic happens, like you're naturally going to be anxious, right? Anxiety, of course, like when you hear anxiety, we think of it like in a bad way, right? Because like anxiety disorders, things like that. But just anxiety in general, like without it being like maladaptive, like anxiety keeps you alive longer, because like you're always kind of wary of like, all right, okay, so this has happened, so I gotta be on the lookout for boom, boom, boom. I gotta get my ducks in a row. So, anxiety does keep you safe in a sense, but it can get to a point where it's overwhelming, and we don't want that. Obviously, so it's difficult when these things happen. So we just do the best to keep ourselves safe, and but when you go out, who knows what can happen, right? And we don't know, so it's that's the difficult part. Like when we're at home, like I got security all through the house, like like we can account for that. But when we go out, we really don't know, So for me personally, I do my best to, you know, practice gratitude, and I'm big on the I love yous, and the I care about you, thank you. I'm talking to family members and loved ones because like you just never know. But you can definitely be anxious after some of this happens, So this, pace yourself, and we're all of us, not just me in California. All of us are thinking about you all, and praying about y'all. Yeah, Stacy, I'm happy that you're in my live. So like I said, this is the first live that you joined, and they're more upbeat, normally, but like it's just it kind of sucks the air out of you, Me, I appreciate you for coming on. Thank you so much. Eliana, love from YouTube. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. It's very Alicia, sorry to hear that, so you're being affected by the news. And yeah, I actually have a video series that'll come out soon talking about like basic mental health hygiene tips, because like when your mental health is like kind of sinking, it's tough to like take care of your body. So that's something that's on my mind, as if you're reading my mind for whatever reason. Let me see. Leilani, I appreciate that. I do my best to get to certain comments, and it's difficult when I want to help people, and the best way I can help is by making these videos. Like I can't assume care of anybody legally, but I mean, regardless of having time to say that, people will still ask because people are just finding out about my content like every single day, right? I get thousands of followers every day. So if somebody doesn't know, like I don't blame them. We just gently remind them, and you welcome them into the family. But Leilani, I do appreciate that. I try my best to get to as many of these comments as possible. Oh yeah. But kindness reminders are never out of style. Like they're never out of style. Rob, I appreciate that. It's funny because sometimes when like like as a streamer, I'm paying attention to a couple of things as I'm doing the live. I'm making sure that we stay on topic, right? If we're talking about this thing, like naturally my ADHD will let me go all over the place, but I want to kind of stay on topic, and I'm keeping an eye on like the numbers. Like it's 97 people who are live right now, and all this other stuff. But as a streamer, sometimes you selfishly can look at the numbers and say, "Oh, we got 400 people, we got 800 people on here," But for me, like I'm driven by like my fuel is like comments like this. Like if the live was helpful, then it was helpful, right? Then it was well worth my time. The fell week. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Let me see. Heart palpitations, common anxiety. So sometimes anxiety can present that way, right? But once again, it depends on the type of anxiety. Like, are we talking about like anxiety in the terms of like just anxiety how we normally talk about it, or anxiety after something traumatic like this has happened? As a therapist, I'm hearing a lot of anxiety. People are stressed. Yeah. No, Stacey. Yeah, people are stressed. And for good reason. People are stressed because you read something like this, especially when like let's say you're in New York or you're in Buffalo, you're around the area. Like you think about the fact that like I could have gone, like I could have gotten, you know, I could have felt like, oh, I need to get out the house. I'll go to the store today. Normally I do Instacart, but I want to go to the store today, right? And then that could have been you, right? So I think when we think of it from that perspective, we're like, damn, like this could happen to anybody. You know, Dr. Phil. No comments on Dr. I don't even keep up with Dr. Phil for the most part, so no comments on that because I don't even know. You can live in Buffalo. Katie, definitely, thinking about you all out there. Thoughts and prayers. All right, let me see. It says affected so many of my friends. Yeah, Katie, my thing is, when things like this happen, nobody really knows the right answer. But for me, I like to always have like a tentative solution, right? Like just like my thing is like if we talk about, oh, these mass shootings have happened and people are traumatized and anxious, and we don't come up with like a solution, then we're gonna keep talking about it. Like I think that when these things happen, like maybe we should like I don't know, like allow anybody in the area to get free counseling and therapy. Like I feel like the money's there somewhere. Like I don't know too much about like government and politics and funding, but why not give people affected by a situation like access to a mental health professional? Because like that's like a real life traumatic thing that happened, and like you can't just expect somebody to just like step into Monday and go about the week like it's a normal week. So that like that's the first thing that comes to my my head, because I'm like, at least let's have a solution, and if that solution is not the best, then I'm willing to like listen to whatever can be done better. Brenda says, Brenda, I want you to get fired. I want you to get fired because you're trying to watch Facebook on your phone. We don't need you to get fired, but keep in mind these lives, you can watch them on the back end. You can watch them on the back end. Hey, love from Williamsburg. Ms. Reed, how you doing? Yeah, Jeremy, definitely prayers up. Alicia, I appreciate that. DK, what's going on? Your first time here. Let me see. What Jeremy says. Jeremy, I appreciate you, man. Your videos within the past couple of months have allowed me to leave a 7-year toxic relationship and realize that I wasn't happy. I love it. Hey, you know what? Like, because we're discussing like the tragic news, I didn't know if I was like in the mood to clap, but I'm in the mood to clap now. I'm gonna go ahead and give Jeremy a love of the show, because that's why I post the content that I post, right? So sometimes people say, "Oh, it's corny." I mean, if you hate it or love it, like I'm gonna keep posting the content. If you don't want to watch it, like I'm a little sad. Like I love your attention, but if you watch it and you learn something from it, then I get super excited. This definitely turned me up, Jeremy. You have to keep in mind that here's the thing with, so quick segue, and we'll get back on topic. But the thing with relationships is you stay in them for so long, it becomes your new normal. So you don't know it's a toxic situation until you can step back, like step back, right? All the way. You see I look different here as opposed to when I come up. When you step back, you can look at things from a more objective perspective. And then, Jeremy, you might come to terms and be like, you know what? I'm not being treated the way I want to be treated in this relationship, right? And then, over time, you watch the content, boom, 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 and then you get the courage to leave, and to, create a new path for yourself. So I'm proud of you, and I'm going to give you a love of the show. Everybody, congratulate Jeremy in the comment section, man. That's super exciting, bro. That's super exciting. Let me see. Thank you. Yeah, D2Net, we really have to talk about mental health in the Black community, and I'm doing my best to try and figure out how to. I mean, like I'm Black, so you think that it'd be easy, but no, it's not easy on my end. I still struggle to try and make mental health more mainstream, and that's why my plan is to go into the entertainment side of things and see how we can shake up that industry. So, we'll get there. We will get there. Let me see. Hi, Ari. Hey, Ari. You want me to say hey, so I'm saying hey. Eee. Stacy, take care. I appreciate you. God bless you too. Letitia, thank you very much. I appreciate you. Letitia Hopkins, I appreciate you. Preach. There's several organizations that are offering mental service. Oh, so Michelle, if there's several organizations that are offering mental services to the people in Buffalo, then I apologize, because I do have the idea. I wasn't sure what was being done. I hadn't looked that far. So if there's organizations who are doing a good work, then I definitely want to commend them. Right. And Jeremy says, thank you, means a lot. I found a new job that makes me happy, so I'm talk to him, Jay. And that's the thing, anybody who is stuck in a bad situation, whether it's a toxic relationship or a toxic job, you have to keep in mind that if you don't realize that things can be better for you, you're probably not gonna move on and jump to nothing, right? Because to leave one relationship, to not go to a relationship, right? You're leaving to just be single and work on yourself. That's harder than most people think. We always talk about it. Love yourself, and we sing the songs and we smile and we laugh. But to actually do the thing is hard work. So you gotta give yourself credit for that, Jeremy. No, Michelle, I appreciate that. I mean, I'm gonna look myself, and if I catch one of any organizations, and I feel like it's something that is tangible and can be helpful to people, I'll post it on my Facebook page. Sure, why not? I'll send it to my publicist, let them look through, make sure it's legitimate, and I'll post it for the people. Your videos have helped me explain. Amy, I appreciate you. Thank you. I appreciate you. Ari. I'm sorry, Ari checking in from Facebook. I mean, YouTube. The YouTube audience is growing a little bit. So, shout out to my YouTube people. All right. So, I'm about to get off this live stream. I thought I had some water here. We'll do the water break later on today. We'll be going on live tonight for the late night show. That'll be in 5.5 hours, 6 p.m. California time, 9 p.m. on the East Coast. So I'm going to get out of here and get a couple more things done. And I will see you all tonight. So until then, take care.